Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. It seems like I've been away all my life. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone to joining the session today. We missed each other last week due to the challenges we had in Johannesburg with our weather, but we are so grateful that we're able to have today's session. Thank you, leaders, for every time you join either the master class or the CDC class. It's always a privilege to be in the same space with you. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us in the IEDF leadership and training sector. Before we start, I'd like to request Leader Ruth. Can you lead us with an opening prayer? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's pray. Father God, we come to you this afternoon in the name of the Son, of the Father, of the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, we come to you with a grateful heart that you've given us another opportunity to be in this meeting. Lead us and help us understand everything that we're going to be taught today. And even those that are still hesitating to come to the class, help them to decide that they should come, because this will benefit all of us. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Leader Ruth. Thank you. Welcome to all our leaders once again, our sector heads, our chapter heads, our CDC leaders. Thank you for joining our CDC training. I want to first of all thank you for yesterday, as many of our leaders who were able to join the masterclass of yesterday. It's been weeks and weeks of your devotion, your commitment to the masterclass. Thank you, leaders, for every time you join the masterclass. And of course, on Thursdays, we do the CDC training. Thank you. My leaders, as you can see, over the few weeks, we have been having our CDC trainings. And we had actually, as at the last time we did our CDC training, we had finished the CDC model. However, we're starting a new model, and the model we're beginning is the Joseph model. Somebody will ask, what is the Joseph model? Yes, leaders, that's what we're about to find out today. The Joseph model was given birth when we saw the gap that beyond building leaders who are going to communities to build our communities, we should build ourselves first as leaders who are making impact in our communities. So leaders, I want to thank you because we're going to be running through the Joseph model in all our CDC trainings on Thursday. So basically, once we're done with this cohort of the Joseph model, then when we start another CDC, once we're done with that particular the CDC chapters, we move on to the Joseph model. So that's how we're going to be running our CDC trainings. Thank you, leaders, for joining us. As I was meditating, just to give a quick background, our why, in IEDF we always do our why full. As I was meditating on the why, I found out that leaders, greatest systems are not built by just ordinary people, okay, or really rather extraordinary people. They are built by ordinary people who chooses to have extraordinary character. So beyond the work, it's about the person. The Joseph model is going to be teaching us about who you are. What type of a leader should you become as an individual before you even start building systems or start building, your communities. So leaders, I'm so grateful and very honored today to be on the call with the author of the Joseph model. He's also the author of our masterclass, which has become a masterpiece in the leadership sector. The masterclass really cuts across both traditional leaders, educational leaders, industry captains, and the Joseph model also. By the time we're done with the Joseph model, you will see that the Joseph model also really applies to not just you as an individual, to your organization, to your businesses, your leadership structure in your ecosystem. Leaders, I love you. I would like you to give a round of applause to our global president, I've missed him so much. It's been a long time we shared the same room together. So I'm really excited and it's going to really be powerful. I'm not kidding you. We're really going to learn how to apply certain principles to our life. For me as an individual, I have spoken in many rooms, and character is everything to me. Character as a leader. Africa is the way it is today because we do not have leaders of character. Yes, we've got initiatives, amazing dreams, but do we have the character to pursue our vision for Africa? We want to create the IEDF leader. It's got to be a leader with character. Without taking most of your time, my leaders, because we know time is a constraint, I'd like to invite our global president, Honorable David Venter. I'm sure you are in the room, GP. You should be in the room. I know you. You are time conscious. So GP is here. He's the one who is going to be facilitating our introductory topic today on the Joseph model. GP, you're very much welcome. Woo! How are you?
Good afternoon, Leader Mary,
Good
and
afternoon,
good
GP.
afternoon to all of the leaders here. And I'm so honored to be sharing this platform with you and the leaders. And yes, it's been a while since
Yeah, yeah,
since we have had a session like this, but it's in that we celebrate, just the successes of the Leadership Masterclass. As
yes,
we have multiplied, and I see our leader Ruth is present, who was once a student of the Leadership Masterclass and is now leading Africa in its development and training. And so I want to take this opportunity as well, Leader Mary, to acknowledge your leadership as you are raising up other leaders, and I'm sure Leader Ruth and leaders in the room will do the same. Leaders, I'm very, very honored to be sharing this platform with you. Today is going to be a very, I'd say, interesting discussion. I was speaking to Leader Mary earlier, and before every session, we prepare. We do full-on preparation. What questions are going to be asked? And then this morning, I told the Leader Mary, we're going off script. Today, we're going to do something a bit different because I can sense the Almighty wants to do something great. There are people that is in this particular session today that has evolved from the Leadership Masterclass, has evolved through CDCs, and still has questions of saying, I see the vision, I feel the burning call on my life. I've built the CDC, yet I do not see the change. What do I have to do? And leaders, it was this journey of seeking, the saying, knock and the door shall be opened unto you, seek and you shall find. In that I cannot sit here, leaders, and say that I wrote the book or that I'm the author of the book. Yes, I might have been the person that has put it together, but such as with the Leadership Masterclass, this is not mine. I'm merely but a servant through which a revelation has been passed on and that needs to be shared with the multitudes. So I cannot sit and take claim or any acclamation for it, all praise and honor for the revelations that we will receive will go to the Almighty. Now that I've given praise and honor to where it rightfully belongs, the Joseph model, leaders' history gives us a lot of secrets. They are there. We see many leaders that have risen up in the past and have moved people from poverty into prosperity. And when we study these systems, many of these systems are still relevant today. The why for this book is perfectly and fully aligned to the mission of the IEDF, which is to eradicate poverty in our communities and to eradicate the social ills that poverty causes. And as such, we have received or we have identified systems that we will implement as a movement that will move not only our communities or our continent, but that will move our families and our generations into prosperity. The talks we will be having over the next couple of weeks on the Joseph model, I encourage you to be present. Do not just do the online course. We have found with the leadership masterclass, yes, you can do the online course. So that's great. But when you sit in these sessions and there are discussion pieces, revelation and understanding is just multiplied. And as such, I'm going to encourage you leaders as we're going through the next couple of weeks that you attend these sessions, and I can guarantee you at the end of this journey, it's not just the world that's going to change, or the continent of Africa, or your country, or your community, but this particular system is designed to impact your family and your generations. So, Leader Mary, I think let us get into the
Absolutely.
discussion.
Let's get into it. Thank you so much, GP. Absolutely. The Joseph model is actually built to change you as an individual. There is only one leader charity. There's only one leader Ruth. There's only one leader Mary. If you are changed, then your community is changed. If you are changed, then your family is changed. Thank you so much, GP, for sharing your why the Joseph model. So I just want to talk to you, GP, because we're going to be having a lot of questions about the Joseph model. Just share with us the background of the Joseph model. Why did you even choose Joseph for starters? Why Joseph, GP?
Leaders, when we look at Joseph and the journey of Joseph, we identify a young man that at the age of 17 was sold into slavery. A young man who had a vision, that had a dream, and he was betrayed by those who most trusted, his very brothers, those that had to protect him. A young man that even though he was sold into slavery, still through his character, rose and found favor with leadership. We say his character, but in his character, leaders, I'm aligning that to the favor of the Almighty that was with him as well. And this aligns to the character of the person who, through his alignment with the Almighty and certain character traits that we will discuss, wherever he was in a situation where he'd start at the bottom, he'd work his way to the top. And just when he thought he made it, just when he thought he reached the level of success, something would happen and he would have to start from the beginning. And these tests became worse from his family, selling him into slavery. And let's understand, slavery wasn't just a case of, we might think there's a president in prison today. This was slavery of old. This was someone from Israel sold into Egypt, completely different cultures. I mean, when you were sold as a slave, you were the bottom of the bottom. You weren't, this was harsh treatment for someone who was favored in his house. But yet, through all of these challenges, this particular person remained true to a vision and call that he received as a young boy. What was it about this person that didn't break his character? What was it about this person that did not accept the environment that he found himself in and said, this is my life now. I have to accept this community I'm finding myself in. I have to accept the state of poverty that I'm in. No, leaders, there was something about this young boy that was attached to a vision that he received. And this character, something that he had, kept on pushing him forward, and he failed, and he was betrayed, and yet he did nothing wrong. What is it about this person that his spirit wasn't broken? And how did this young man, at the age of 17, sold into slavery, and I'm going to say this, in only 13 years, by the age of 30, moved suddenly from a prison, and not prisons as we know it today, leaders. Today's prison has got rights and all this. I'm talking about a prison of back then, prison of Genesis, that's in the book of Genesis. How did this young man move from a prisoner or from a prison straight to a palace? What was that sudden journey? What was that there that moved him suddenly into a position of power, of prosperity? And even when you continue that particular journey, what was it about this man that when he was in a position of power, he still had the character to forgive those who puts him into slavery? What was it? Yeah, the story of Joseph holds so many secrets. There are so many models inside of here that we can use in today's time. That's similar that Joseph used ultimately as one person, a leader. Let me say this: one man that God has chosen and has taken through times of trial, but because of his faith in the calling, the faith in the Almighty, God ultimately put him in that which he saw many years earlier. 13 years ago, when he received the vision, he was put into power 13 years later. There was a journey there. The discovery of the fact that even though bad things might happen to you, this could be part of the plan of the Almighty, preparing you for the vision you've already seen. What is the character? What are these traits about Joseph that applies to me in my life? Because things aren't moving according to my plan. I know I'm destined for greater, but why am I not moving? I see this future. I know it. I know God's calling me, the Almighty is calling me to do great things. But when I look at current circumstance, it doesn't reflect the picture that I see. So leaders, this book and the study of Joseph is going to map the journey. It's going to map the path, and it's going to give practical steps that you, that I can apply in our everyday life that will move us, one person, and use that one person to impact an entire nation and to impact generations to come. So the story of Joseph is not just about a coat, it's not just about famine, it's not just about a prisoner moving into a palace. It's about studying those systems and how do we apply it in our everyday life.
Thank you, GP. Thank you. You know, leaders, I'm really inspired because over the years of my life, I never, and of course, I really love process. I've never looked at the story of Joseph, just like GP you just mentioned, about the process Joseph had to go through rather than just the victory. So all that we are acquainted with is the victories. You know, Joseph's coat of many colors and how he became prime minister. We never looked at the processes he needed to go through. And indeed, for us as leaders in Africa, in our, in all our ecosystem, process is key. Process, it outlives the output. If you are going to do an auditing, you actually audit the process and not even just the outcome. So thank you so much, GP, for explaining that to us. So this model is really going to build us as individuals, our businesses. So my next question to you, GP, is for you to talk to us about the hidden preparation. The hidden preparation that Joseph had to go through. You know, what were the things that he knew? Of course, he had a vision, and that's what it all starts from. Leaders, we must have visions. He had a vision when it didn't look like anything was going to happen, but that vision went through a certain process. GP, can you talk to us about some of those processes, some of the preparations that Joseph had to put in place to find himself as a leader that he eventually became? Over to you, GP.
Leaders, I'm going to encourage you to really have a book and a pen.
I have mine. I have my GP. I have my.
Well done, Leader Mary. Trust everyone else has got to say it, because you are going to receive revelation now, and you have to write it down. If you are not going to make notes in any of these sessions, leadership masterclass sessions, the Joseph model, if you're not going to write down, you are going to lose messages or revelation that's meant for you. If you do not have a book, do not find a way to make notes, as I'm going to get into this part of the discussion. And I'm not going to rush it. I was telling Leader Mary, if we run out of time, we run out of time. We'll end and we can continue with next week. But I do feel this is very important. Leaders, firstly, this is the very first session of the Joseph model. There's 39, 40 people in this room. The IEDF is a global movement. This invitation has gone out across many a platform, and 40 people have responded to the call. I say that because you are not here by chance. Something inside of you may be here today. So I'm not going to rush what I'm going to speak about now. There's someone here actually hear what I've got to say. So let's talk about Joseph. We have gone through the Leadership Masterclass, and the Leadership Masterclass, a strong focus is about identifying the call on your life, knowing that you are not an accident, knowing that the Almighty has made you and sent you to this earth for a time such as this, and placed you exactly in the community and the family that you are, because you are supposed to do something great. So the Leadership Masterclass brings us into that identity. The Joseph model is, now that I have that identity, and now that I realize that it's not my personal ambition that I should chase, but that I should chase the greater calling on my life, how do I do that? So this is part 2 of the Leadership Masterclass. So let's talk about Joseph's process. We know the story of Joseph, and I think most of us would know the story. Joseph was he was one of 12 sons of Jacob. He was the second youngest son, and he was the son of Jacob's beloved wife Rachel. And Joseph had favor with his father, to the point that his father gave him a coat of many colors. In this already, one could see, and for those parents that are in the room and parents who have more than one child, my question is, why would you choose one of your children as a favorite child? Generally, that would be a child that listens to you. Generally, that would be a child that's very obedient. Generally, that would be a child that doesn't backchat, talk back. And a child that does and excels, it's not necessarily excels, but you could see that this particular child has a certain character that aligns to you as a parent. And as such, you tend to be attracted to this particular child. You have a good relationship, you talk well, the two of you tend to talk. But it's really an obedient child. So when you see that Joseph gets the coat of many colors, understand there was an underlying character that was formed in his household with his obedience to his father, who was his leader. He had brothers, but when his father asked him to do something, he was exceptional. He did it with absolute excellence. And this is why a father, out of 12 sons, would choose the second youngest. Normally you choose the eldest, firstborn, traditionally. I'm a firstborn son, and I ask myself, how would I feel if I've got 12 brothers and my father puts a cloak of the second youngest brother down the firstborn? I would be outraged. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just being real with you right here. So Joseph had a certain character already that was in his household. And he was raised up to have not just raised, but he himself had a very personal relationship with the Almighty, and he had this vision that he got at a young age. Okay, so here's Joseph. So already identified as a character, importantly, where he currently was. Joseph had a dream of what he would be, but where he was at the time of receiving the vision, he already demonstrated qualities that he would need when that vision comes. In other words, he did not develop the qualities one day when the vision is fulfilled. He demonstrated it where he already was. That is critical, leaders. You've got to grab onto that. We meet and we see, and I too fall into this fault so many times, that one day when I have this, or when I have money, I will do that. I'll change my community as soon as I get this. I want to do this when. No, leaders. It's about what do I have right now? Where am I now? And how am I faithful with what I've got right now? This was Joseph in his household. And guess what? People got jealous. There were people around him that saw his favor that he had with man and with God. That saw it and they got jealous. This is the journey of a visionary leader. The minute you start doing stuff and you start shining, you start getting favor, guess what? Many a times those closest to you might not support you. Could be a brother, could be a sister, could be a husband, could be your wife. And you find like, why no one's supporting me? So understand this was Joseph and his family. And then there was this level of jealousy happening. And he didn't get the support. But through that, you remained faithful. But note this one part, leaders. Joseph told his brothers about the dream that he received, as well as his father, that he had this dream that one day, and I'm just going to move fast, I'm going to give all the details based on time. But in his dream, he literally said that he dreams and he can see in the future that they will one day bow to him. His father rebuked him for what he said. But this was him just talking. He was a young boy. He was a, vibrant youth. He still has to get to the point of wisdom and soul. His brain has to develop. But he shared this, probably very proud that, God has revealed this. And he just goes and tells people they can bow to him, elevating himself in front of people. And when he did that, just key words that I'm sharing with you. When he did that, those closest to him rebuked him and they wanted to kill him. So the story goes on. So Joseph was betrayed by those most that he trusted the most. He's thrown in a pit, and then later he was going to be killed, by the way. His brothers were so infuriated that they wanted to kill him. However, one of the brothers spoke up and said, let's rather sell him as a slave. So here he's sold into slavery, totally betrayed. And at this point, many a person would turn. The character would turn. We see this every day. Where I live in Cape Town, in South Africa. We have a massive case of gangsterism, of crime. And we see young boys that, feel society has turned on them, and then they turn on society. We see that, it's around us. But this young man, Joseph, did not let the circumstance, the betrayal, take him off course. He didn't say, you know what, this is what they've done to me. I'm not going to do this anymore. He remained that character person. There's key things I'm saying here, and I know I'm talking to somebody that's listening to me today. So he goes and he's sold into slavery. He's in a place he doesn't know. He's got a culture. He's Hebrew. He's now in Egypt. They have different gods. They've got different religions. They have different languages. And he has to do the dirtiest of the dirtiest work. He's a slave. But when he gets there, now, grab this, leaders, the same character of excellence, of obedience, of just accepting responsibility of what he's got there, that same level of responsibility, delivering what is expected of him in excellence, immediately when he's sold into Potiphar's house as a slave, He raises, and Potiphar sees something about this young boy, and Potiphar makes him in charge of his household. Now you can't just move past that. Potiphar was the head of the king's guards. In other words, he had soldiers that reported to him. Potiphar was a very wealthy person that Joseph served under. And you could well understand Potiphar had managers, leaders, people that were running certain divisions. Here's this young boy from a different country that's a slave, and Potiphar elevates him above people that trusted him. I mean, people that worked for him for many years. I'm pretty sure, it's not written, but I'm pretty sure that Joseph received a lot of ridicule, a lot of betrayal, a lot of jealousy in the house of Potiphar, similar to what he had at home. There's key things here. Just because you are favored and just because you are growing, do not expect people to sing your praises. Not on this journey of visionary leadership. Not on this journey where you are wanting to change certain things. People might not all support you. So Joseph continues with his level of character, and Potiphar trusts him and takes this young man, trains him, clothes him, develops him, teaches him what he knows, and puts him in charge. Key word here, leaders: trust. You've got to write that word down, circle it. You've got to highlight that word. Potiphar trusted him. I say that because you are business people in this room. Would you put someone in charge of your money? Would you just put anybody in charge of your business? Of course not. You got to trust that person. That person could have the best skill, but let me ask you on this question. If you did not trust that person, even if they're your best worker, if you don't trust them, will you put them in charge of your company? So Potiphar placed Joseph in charge, meaning there was a high level of trust. Talking about Joseph's character. Key things here. We know trust is earned. You can't just go and say, I trust that person. There's something about that person that earns your trust. Meaning Joseph, the same trust he got from his father, that same character went through and he got trust with Potiphar. And what it shows as leaders is that Joseph's character, not his skill, his character elevated him into positions of power. Key words, I had a talk with one of the leaders this morning. And I said, please, leader, do not appoint someone as a leader based on their skill. Appoint someone as a leader and your executive based on their character. Big difference. So here's Joseph with his character. He gets in a position of power. Now what happens at this point? Again, he gets in a position of power and he is tempted. He is in a position of power where he's trusted. And we know the story says Potiphar's wife then wants to lay with him. And Joseph said, I cannot do this to my God. I cannot. Now, leaders, for the men in the room, we know basically if you're talking about a woman wanting to lay with a man, we know that that talks about a grave temptation. And Joseph said, I cannot do this. I cannot sin against my God. He knew the consequence. Got to highlight these things I'm sharing with you. You see, because when you're in a position of power and you are elevated, you are going to be challenged to do things because you've got the ability to do it. And sometimes you are going to have to say no, because even though that thing might benefit you, it just doesn't feel right. And you know you shouldn't do it. Joseph had to make a decision. He knew if he does not lay with Potiphar's wife, he knew she would turn him. She probably threatened him and said, if you don't do this, you'll see what I'm going to do to you. And he said, I refuse. I'm not going to do it. Character. Someone that's aligned to a vision that he received from the Almighty. You see, he wasn't guided by his personal ambitions. He was guided by a calling and a vision that he received, and he knew that he had to act in line with that A relationship with the Almighty, as we taught in Leadership Masterclass, is the first character trait of a visionary servant leader. So here's Joseph, and what happens? Potiphar's wife tells Potiphar, this young man that you trust, do you know what it did? This young man tried to lay with me, and I grabbed his coat. Look at this. Can you imagine what Potiphar must have felt? This boy that he trusted, this boy that he gave all the opportunity, betrays him. Oh, I'm seeing the scene play out, and I'm seeing Joseph saying, my Lord, I did not do it. I swear to you, I didn't do it. And Potiphar had to choose, do he trust his wife or does he trust this young man? He had to go with what his wife said. And we know the story. He throws Joseph into prison, and not just any prison. He throws him with the king's prison as well. Now, leaders, if you understand this, you could say the king's prisoner. You are saying these are prisoners who the king himself said, listen, these people want to overthrow me. They either want to kill me or to take me out of power. So these are the worst of the worst prisoners that you could possibly get in terms of prison. So he's placed there with the king's prisoners. Potiphar throws him there because he feels betrayed by this young man. Now imagine here Joseph has done nothing wrong. He's done everything right. He's been obedient to what he's been asked for. Everything is done right, but yet this happens to you. Has that happened to you before, leader, where you're doing everything right and all of a sudden this great thing happens? You've done everything right. You lose a loved one. You've done everything right. A business partner steals your money. You've done everything right. Someone betrays you. You've done everything right. How could this happen? He gets thrown into prison. Yet Joseph could have, and you could look at his life. You would think this young man would just give up everything, would just give up hope. Like, how can this happen again to me? And this time, he's not just a slave in Potiphar's house. He's a prisoner with a king's slave. This is worse. Listen, there's no way of getting out of prison. When you're there, it's almost as if you were a prisoner for life until you die. So there's no way out for Joseph. And so many times, even as business people, I know there's a lot of business people here, we say, you know what, my business is not doing well. I might be in a lot of debt. I might have lost a big account. I might have lost a big customer, a big client. I don't know I'm going to get through this. The debt is overwhelming. This is not what I was shown. This is not the vision that I see. I've been shown something else. I don't know what I'm going to do. This is a hopeless case. I don't know. Here he goes to prison. And in prison, Joseph maintains his character. He maintains the faith in the Almighty, the one that has shown him what he's destined for many years ago, even though his current circumstance is not showing it. It's going from bad to worse. He knows within he will not be forsaken. He has to stay true to the call and the vision. In prison, the prison warden finds favor with Joseph. And the story says that God was with Joseph, and thus Joseph found favor with man. But you've got to go deeper than God was with Joseph. It was Joseph's character, because Joseph was different than the other prisoners. A prison warden identified there's something different about this young man. He's different to the other prisoners. And the prison warden, key word coming up again, trusted Joseph. There's an interesting word that's moving through the story. You see, Joseph was someone that could be trusted, to the point even with Potiphar, he would give up everything, even to the point of being thrown into prison. He can be trusted. Joseph knew if he laid with Potiphar's wife, he would be okay. But he would not do that to Potiphar, because Potiphar trusted him as well. So here he is, he's in prison, and the warden sees he can be trusted now. Leaders, for those of us who has experience in prisons, you can understand if you are someone dealing with prisoners, the level of trust has got to be great because there's a lot of things happening. And you can understand as well, here's Joseph, a young boy. The prison warden puts him in charge of other prisoners. Don't you think that they ridiculed him? Don't you think that they might have even, handled him very differently? Because who is he to raise up? He's not even from this land, and yet the prison warden's putting this young man, we are murderers, all these things. So even there, he faced ridicule, and I'm sure he would have faced betrayal, but he remained true to his character, and the prison warden was there. Now we know the story as he goes, as he maintained this, even though he was tested in prison, gravely tested in prison. We know that he then deciphers his dreams for two of the other prisoners. So one can understand that with his position in power, he befriended some people. He had brothers, if I could use that term, people that he trusted. So he befriended them, and they were very close in prison that he helped him with the dreams. There was two people. There was a baker and the cupbearer for Pharaoh. And he told the baker, listen, unfortunately, your dream says, you're going to die. And the cupbearer, your dream says you're going to be restored into power. And as the dreams go, unfortunately, the baker, it happened exactly as Joseph foretold his dream. And here's what it is. He tells the cupbearer, when you are restored, remember me. In other words, when one looks at this, you could almost see the relationship in prison, that Joseph did certain things for those that he favored. That's what you do as a leader. You've got certain privileges. You know what it is. You got a leader. You tend to give certain people privileges. So I'm sure that he really handled and ensured that the cupbearer was well cared for in prison. And he said, when you get out, remember me. In other words, remember what I've helped you here. When you get out, please, I'm innocent. I need you to help me. The story goes that the cupbearer leaves, right? He's put back into power. He's right next to Pharaoh. And you can understand a cupbearer taking wine to Pharaoh is a trusted servant, because the Pharaoh would think that, the cupbearer could throw poison into the cup and Pharaoh would drink it and he would die. So the cupbearer is a trusted servant of Pharaoh. So the cupbearer goes, but yet the cupbearer forgets about Joseph. Oh, leaders, I'm pretty sure that one hit home to some of us. People that you have helped, people that came to you for assistance and for support, and then when you need help, they're not there. Joseph is in prison for 2 more years. And I'm sure the cupbearer said, I will remember you, and he did it. And as it goes, leaders, to about just over 700 days later, Pharaoh has a dream, and the cupbearer remembers Joseph. Now, I'm seeing the time, it's already 12:45. The session has to end right about 1 o'clock. I mean, we have so much more to go with, and I'm not going to go through the entire story. We will go to the second half of the story. But what happens, and this is where I'm going to close off, and I'm handing over back to you, Mary, is that it was here that the character of Joseph, amidst all the trials, the people that he had helped, keyword, the people that he had helped along his journey, someone opened the door for him. And suddenly, leaders, Joseph moved from a prisoner to stand before Pharaoh. He moved from the prison to the palace. You see, your character has to be formed. Joseph, when he was 17, wasn't ready to stand in front of Pharaoh. I'm coming to a close with my story. When he stood in front of Pharaoh, Pharaoh said, young man, I heard that you can foretell dreams. Because the cupbearer told him. This is what Joseph said. And this is where Joseph's life changed. And this is what you have to grab. When Pharaoh asked him, I heard that you can decipher dreams. Joseph said, I cannot decipher your dream. I cannot. But God can. Now, when you go back to when Joseph was a young boy in his house, he was all about himself, telling his brothers and his family, you were going to bow before me. This is the dream that I see. But when he stood in front of Pharaoh, he put God first. The arrogance, the him, the I can, the I will, the I'm able to, I am this, I am that, was taken away. And he said, I cannot, but God can. It was here that Pharaoh said, there's something different about this man. And Pharaoh knew that he could trust Joseph. And he put Joseph in charge. And Joseph became the second most powerful person at that time in the world. Now, the story obviously continues. However, the key word that has gone through here is that every phase in Joseph's life, the betrayal of his brothers, right through to Potiphar, all the way through to the prison, right to where he got to Pharaoh, all the bad things that happened was actually the Almighty preparing Joseph for the day he was to stand in front of Pharaoh. Had Joseph responded that day and said, I can decipher your dream, I can assure you, leaders, Joseph would not have been put in position of power. But it was his character that placed him there. Leader Mary, I think, let us stop there. You know, as we go through all these sessions, we are going to dive much deeper into all of these different phases and we're going to pull it apart. But yeah, let me hand over to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, GP. Thank you for giving us an explicit journey of Joseph and the challenges he faced. Leaders, I want to thank you so much. Just to add on to some of the things the GP have said, and of course telling you the next phase of this training, giving you a world view. The world doesn't need, just hold on, the world doesn't need more, is never needed of more servant leaders like we need now. You know, leaders across every continent, we see remarkable talent. We see a lot of technology coming in place. We see quite a lot of opportunities. We see growth. However, we do not see character. I'm just adding on to what the GP have said. You are doing business with a lot of people, and you see that even in business conversations, in implementation of businesses, a lot of people do not have character. Now, my question to you is, just imagine if we have a school of leadership in Africa where we are teaching the Joseph model. Now, remember, IEDF is not a Christian organization. We're just using Joseph as a model of teaching leadership. We could have used any other person, all right? But imagine teaching this in our schools. Imagine teaching this for our children, that they need character to succeed beyond technology, beyond their talents. I must say to you, leaders, that this is what is needed in our world today. Now, in closing, I also would like to share that one of the things we want to do from the global office, or what we are doing in the global office, my leaders, is every leader who has been attending the masterclass and this Joseph model, the CDC training, we've got your database. We are empowering you to become the IEDF Leadership Masterclass and the Joseph Model facilitators. We will be accrediting you. I'd like us to give a big round of applause to our GP for this an amazing opportunity. So you'll be getting the IEDF accreditation of becoming a facilitator in your communities. Leaders, we must take this knowledge to everywhere. So you will be getting that accreditations. Your profile will be on the website. We have already discussed this. Your profile will be on the website. So when there's a need for validation, if you are actually accredited to do these courses for your municipalities, for your chiefs, for students in your community. What about the schools, the headmasters? You can just, and remember, these are paid trainings for your businesses. We will be accrediting you to take these trainings to your community. Now, that is trust. We cannot trust you to take these leadership master classes when you are not a Joseph model, a Joseph kind of leader. You do not train who you are not. So we are expecting our leaders to take these trainings to our communities after we're done. So leaders, if you have been attending the master classes and the CDC trainings, and of course the Joseph model, which starts today, we definitely have the back end, and we will be getting in touch with all the leaders so that we can get your data. And of course, we'll now be having a quick facilitation training for you, just to put you through on how to go ahead and facilitate, use these materials to begin to empower your community, and of course charge them for it. So that's one of the, I'm seeing a hands reason, but I'll give you an opportunity to share or just to make your comment. But that is the outcome of this training. I believe, GP, that's where we are going. We're not just training, because this is a training. This is not an informative session. We are training you so that you can go ahead and train others. You can train business people. You can train communities. You can train counselors, whoever. It's really applicable in our communities, and you can charge them for it. So leaders, this is a way to just encourage you. Let's walk this journey quickly. Let's get all our leaders who have been spending their 45 minutes every week being here. It's not for nothing. It's not for nothing. We give you the accreditation and you move into your communities, and we truly make a difference. And that's where the replication, the multiplication model in our CDC comes in, when leaders are able to go there and replicate the mindset. The Joseph model, it's a way of changing the mindset of the way we lead. Let's lead with character. It's beyond skills, it's beyond talent. All right, my leaders, thank you so much. There was a leader whose hands are raised. Do you want to make a comment, leader? Or you want to ask a question? You can please go ahead. You can unmute your mic. One of our leaders, your hands were raised.
Leader Mary,
yes, please.
She's one of my new members. She just joined today. I think it's just a mistake. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much, Leader Ruth. Thank you. Thank you. All right, leaders, thank you so much. GP, you did not even start. So I'm going to still bring the global president next week to take on and give us more details before we hand over to any other person who will be facilitating with us. But I really want to say a big thank you for this insightful session today. We're looking forward. Please, leaders, let's be here next week. Just your 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and let's begin this journey together. Remember, for every certification, you need at least 100 hours of contact before you are accredited. So this is beyond just an informative session. We are in a training so that you can become trainers in your different ecosystem using these materials we're getting, in the IEDF leadership training sessions. Leaders, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone again next week for, I think, the 2 final sessions of our masterclass. And then, of course, the Joseph model on Thursday. Thank you, GP, for an insightful session with you. Am I having you back next week, GP? I'm having you back. For sure.
I think we haven't even gone through half.
You haven't even started. Yeah.
So now we have to finish this next week, and I'm looking forward to everybody that is here today. Be
absolutely.
here, and leaders,
absolutely.
everybody bring one. So we have
Yes.
40 people in attendance. Let's try and be at least 50 to 60 people. Bring your people, and let's train and let's develop. Thank you, leaders.
Thank you. Thank you, leaders. Thank you, leaders, and do have a beautiful afternoon further. Thank you. Bye.